Life is sweet. Let it sweep you off your feet.
Hi, it's Allie and Find Your Joy. And I'm really excited because I get to have my new friend Tammy Vincent on today. And Tammy's many things. She has her own podcast, which is absolutely fabulous. You've got to go listen to it. It is called Adult Child of Dysfunction. And that is basically so much of her story. She's a best-selling author. She's a certified life coach. She teaches courses. I mean, this woman is busy, 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 and she is spending time with us today. Hi, Tammy.
Hello, Allie. I'm so happy to be here. This is
I'm
a good
so,
conversation we're continuing on.
it is, I know. Tammy, I don't know how this is going to go in order of things, but I was just on Tammy's podcast and now she's on mine. And every time we go to have a 5-minute conversation, it seems like all of a sudden an hour is gone and we're like, oh, there we did it again. So I'm so happy that you're here. So let's start with, if it's okay with you, you just had a big scare happen 17 days ago, and here you are, this incredibly strong, resilient, hopeful, and positive woman sitting beside me here, chatting away with a big smile on your face. Do you want to share a little bit about, we'll start there and then work our way back, if that's okay?
Yeah, so yes, I did have a big scare. It was 17, it was January 20th. I had a full-blown stroke out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere. So I was in the ICU. I know I was supposed to have a podcast recording with you, and I was stressed. I mean, I shouldn't have been stressed out about my podcast, but that was the first thing on my mind. But yeah, it was scary. Just out of the blue, my blood pressure went up to 222 over 118, and I was actually, by the grace of God, in the doctor's office when it happened. So he knew immediately what was going on
Right.
and called night. My husband was going to take me down there, but he looked, my eyes were flickering. And then before I could even get to the car to have my husband take me, my whole left side just was gone, completely gone. My face was drooping. It was the whole thing. And yeah, it was scary. When they say timing is everything. Because by the time I got to the hospital, I heard the the neurologist came over the big screen from, he was in Massachusetts, I was in Florida, so it's like teleneurologist kind of thing. But when it's critical like that, it's timing is everything. And I heard him say, we literally have 19 minutes to read you these warnings for the medicine we're about to give you, and you okay the medicine. And then I was trying to say, you're trying to spit out words. And I was like, well, what if not? Like, what if, because the list of warnings was like 15 things long. And he said, however you feel right now is how you will probably stay if you don't take the medicine. And at that point, I had no feeling in my left side. Couldn't lift up my arm, couldn't lift up my leg. And I was like, thumbs up, give me the medicine. Like, let's do this. So
Wow.
I told you it was miraculous. Literally within minutes, I could start to feel, and I literally could feel my face like going back to my face because it had felt like it was all droopy. My husband said it was droopy. And yeah, I am blessed. I am 100% blessed because it was complete the entire way it happened. Everything that happened in a perfect sequence that if one thing had changed, we wouldn't be having this conversation today. I would be in rehab some.
Right.
And, just the timing, the being at the doctor's to begin with, the doctor's appointment being delayed 40 minutes. I mean, it was just all divine intervention. And yeah, I felt, and I was telling you, 15 years ago, the self-talk says so much about you and where you are in your healing journey, because the self-talk that I would have had 15 years ago was not what I had on January 20th. 15, 20 years ago, it would have been a pity party. It would have been, I guess I got what I deserved. It would have been, my mom always told me I'd never amount to anything. And that wasn't it. It was all positive. It was, hey, I don't think this is my time. I think you got more planned for me. So let's just get to the hospital and let's do this. Like, I
Wow.
was like, it was, I knew, I just, there was nothing negative. And was it scary? Yes. I mean, I'm not going to say this was a joyous occasion. It was scary as all get out because I had no feeling in my left side. Um, and I knew, I mean, when I said I heard the doctor or EMT guy say, "Oh, her blood pressure is 220 over 118." And I turned around and looked at him and I said, "Man, that could kill someone." He's like, "Yes, this could kill you." And then I was like, "Oh, pay attention. We're talking about me. Like we're talking about me." But it was, I just was I was very at peace. I was very at peace with, if this is the time I go, it is what it is, but I don't think it is. So let's just move this along and get me fixed so I can do what I got to do.
Wow. Well, I love so much. First of all, I'm so grateful that this is the story, that this is how the story is, that I'm sitting here looking at your beautiful face, smiling on both sides. That it went that way, that it, like you said, the sequence of events, how it happened, but also just how you were able to be centered and grounded in the midst of the the scariness of it all.
Well, when I first collapsed, it's funny you said that, because when I first collapsed on the sidewalk, I was just boom. I went down and I was like, whoa. And I looked at the doctor and I said, I don't, or the nurse, I was like, I'm not feeling so good. And I immediately, she's like, "Can you sit up?" And I was like, "Yes, I need to." I had this need to sit. So I kind of sat up and I did what I typically do anytime I want to ground. I closed my eyes and I pictured the brightest, whitest light coming in through my crown, filling my body and going out through my butt. Like, I'm like, that's what I do. Like, bring in the positive, negatives going out through my butt, like
That's
into the
awesome.
ground. And then it was like I had 100% clarity, but I did do that. I definitely was like, okay, I gotta be calm, because I knew I had to be calm. I had, my blood pressure was going up progressively every second. And
Right.
they took it 3 times in 7 minutes, and it went from 170 over something to 220 over 118. So I knew I had to. And so I did, that's my grounding exercise. I tell everybody to do it. Just bring in that white light and fill your space. If your space, I mean, I was outside, so my space was big, big, that I had to fill with white light. And then I just always, I actually waited on a table, a waitressing, and the lady was 102 celebrating her 102nd birthday. And I said to her, "How do you do it? What's your trick?" And she said, "Every night since I was 30 years old, I have a glass of red wine. And while I'm drinking my glass of red wine, I bring all of the positivity into my body and then I pee it out." And I thought that was so cute. So ever since then, that was like that's what I did. I bring all the positive in and then I just shoot all the negative into the ground. Like, I don't need it. I don't want it. Get it out of here.
Yes.
But it made me think of that. But that's, yeah, I stayed very, very grounded, actually. I knew everything that was going on around me. I can chalk that up to being a big dissociator. When I'm in a time of crises, I step outside
Right.
of my body. So, like we were
Right.
talking about earlier, where a lot of people don't remember a stroke, I remember everything. I remember the conversation I wanted to have. I remembered what was actually coming out of my mouth. Like, I could see that what my brain was not matching what, but my brain was thinking one thing, my
Right.
mouth was saying another, and I couldn't. So then I would try to shorten my sentences and be like, to 3 words, because I figured I can get 3 words out, right? So it was a very scary, but honestly, it really, it was peaceful. Like, it was
Mm,
just, I was at peace that if this is
right.
what it is, I'm good. Like, I'm okay. So it was scary, but it wasn't like, I wasn't, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. None of that ever crossed my mind. I just, if this is my time, it is, but I don't think it is. Like, I was like, I don't think you're done with me, buddy. So,
I love that. And I think, and we'll talk about that, but what I'm imagining in my mind is what it took to get from um, being, well, and a child in a dysfunctional home and growing up with what I'm going to guess was many fears and what ifs and it's very easy to go to the very worst when you've experienced some of the very worst. And so let's talk a little bit about that, the line between that person to the choices you made so that on that day, 17 days ago, that was where you were able to go, because that's a pretty amazing journey.
it was, because I look at the different stages of my life, and I mean, from the time I was 5 years old, all I ever heard was, you'll never do anything. You'll never amount to anything. Nobody cares. Nobody loves you. Everybody hates you. I wish you were never born. Like, I heard that every day of my life. So all through these different stages, when things like even the most horrific things were happening, I always just thought, well, you deserved it. Nobody liked you. You're not a lovable kid. You're hated, blah, blah, blah. And so, like, if I got in a car accident, my thought, like, and I've gotten a couple of them, not horrific ones, but ones that could have been pretty bad. And my thought was always, I can't believe he didn't take you. You don't deserve to live. Like,
Right. Right.
those were my thoughts. When I got into, if something was scary and I witnessed something scary, I'd be like, well, why wasn't it me? I'm not worthy. Like, why would they take that person instead of me? I did unfortunately at one point even try to take my own life. And it was
Right.
literally out of the guilt of contemplating taking my abuser's life. So
Mm.
because it got so bad, and I know, what kind of podcast is this? Is this like a
This is perfect. This is perfect because you know what? The podcast is about finding joy. So we don't find joy because everything was perfect. We find joy
no,
because
okay. So yes,
whatever
exactly.
we talk about is perfect.
Okay, so I got to a point where I literally, and I tell the story not very often, but where I had a box of rat poison in one hand and my mother's orange juice in the other. And I contemplated, and
Mhm.
then the thought of, who are you? That is your mother. Like, who cares what she's done to you? Who cares that she does this stuff? Like, that is your mother, and you are not worthy. And I ended up trying to take my own life that night. And boy, am I glad it didn't work. And even then, I remember waking up and going,
Yeah.
wow, I can't even do that right. That was
Right.
literally my first thought, was I can't even kill myself right. Like, what is wrong with you? But it was like, then it was go through life and just get through. Then it was a survival mode time. Then I say my aha moment. You write children's books, so you'll probably understand this. Have you ever read the book Love You Forever?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm pregnant with my first child. I'm 25, 26 years old. I'm rocking back and forth, and I'm pregnant, reading this book, thinking, oh, this is so sweet. This should be the most serendipitous, happiest, joyous moment of my life. And I had a complete and total mental breakdown because I realized I didn't even know what unconditional love felt like.
Right.
I didn't know. I had never experienced it. And here I am having this baby in my belly. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. I don't know if I can love like that. Like, you have to love. And I did. That was my, like, it wasn't even an aha moment. It was a hit me in the side of the head with a 2x4 and be like, you either make it better and make it right, or just end. And I wasn't ready to do that because I wasn't going to do that to my child.
Right.
So that was my, okay, I'm going to do this. So I remember going down to the Wayne County Public Library, what I wouldn't have done for the internet back then, but just reading through stacks of books like on suicide and alcoholism and addiction and whatever, abuse, neglect, anything I could get my hands on. And I realized in that how many of the basic concepts I was missing,
Right.
that I didn't understand unconditional love, that I didn't understand boundaries, and that I'd let people walk all over me my whole life, and that, that I wanted more. I wanted to be happy. So first of all, I had to think of a way to test the human spirit. Like, how do I know if I'm even capable of love?
Right.
So I went out and I bought myself an 8-week-old puppy.
Oh, I love
I
this.
said, well, I got to test, if I can love a puppy, I can probably love this baby in my belly, right? So I remember holding him in my hands. His name was Fat Man. He was a little Shih Tzu. He was like this big. And my heart freaking melted. That's the best way to put it. And I like had never experienced that feeling. And I knew I was going to be okay. Then I was like, I got this. I know I'm okay. It's going to take some work. I can love this child. I knew immediately the minute that happened that I could love my child. And then so I went into therapy and I started doing all the things everybody told me to do, and journaling and writing. And I remember there was always something missing. And I can remember when things were really bad and I used to say, God, why did you put me here? Like, who is going to save me? And I can remember him saying when I was younger, like, Tammy, Tammy, Tammy. And for the longest time, I was like, man, you're mocking me? Like, what a time to mock me. Like, I need answers. And then that time after therapy that I finally realized he was saying, Tammy, you're going to save you. Me and you are going to save you. So it wasn't mocking me. It was saying, Tammy, you got to save, you got to be this one. You got to be the one.
Right.
And that is like, it started, and it wasn't immediate. I still didn't know boundaries. My first child took the brunt of that. I let him do anything and everything he wanted to. I didn't want to say no because I wanted him to love me like nobody had ever loved me before. So I made a lot
Right.
of mistakes, but every year it got better. He's 30 now. He still lives with me. He's getting his pilot's license and graduates in May. Um, he just texted me, I love you. Thanks for the sandwich. I mean, like it's good. Things are good.
Yeah.
But it was this just, I knew that always, like, I was like, it's not like, I don't care what people said about me or to me or, all the mistakes I made, because I made some bad ones. I remember I got kicked out of my prom and I couldn't graduate with my class. And I remember my principal saying, you'll never change, will you? You'll always be that way. And I'm like, wow, everybody says that. Maybe I won't. Maybe, and I always had this resiliency or this belief that I could do it. It was almost like I wanted to prove people wrong at first. Like you say, I'll be no good, but I'm going to be good. But it was just a lot of work. I started journaling. I journaled and journaled and journaled and journaled and journaled and journaled. We could go on and on, but just stories to myself, stories to my younger self. And I wrote lots of poetry, and I don't know, it was just a lot of work, a lot of different modalities, but always through it, I just kept thinking, wow, today was better than yesterday. And wow, tomorrow is going to be better than that. I always knew, like, I watched people and I was envious. I was like, I want that. I want that in myself, that confidence and that just being able to walk as myself and not be afraid to be me. And
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm
Isn't
so
that
me. I can't be anybody
amazing?
else. I try.
Pardon me?
I said, even if I try, I can't be anybody else. So
That's right. And oh my gosh, we wouldn't want you to be. So it was, so when so really your first child, just even being pregnant and just knowing that you wanted to make sure that you could do that. I love that there was a puppy involved too, because let's just go there for dogs for a little while, because dogs are like the most magnificent creatures ever on creation. Like they teach us how to love and teach us boundaries and teach us so many things. And I think it's very that you got a puppy to make sure that you're going to be able to love in that way, that you wanted to be able to do that. That's really amazing. So
I
then,
mean, and I'll tell you, I'll be very honest. Had I not been able to love that puppy, I would have put my son up for adoption.
wow,
I was ready. I was
that's
that
how
committed
afraid
because
you were.
I was so afraid that I was not going to give him the life that I wasn't going to be that parent to him. So I was ready. And I was so glad when I loved that puppy.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But I
That's
mean, I was ready. I was ready to make the ultimate sacrifice because I couldn't do that to somebody. And,
because when our
I tell
brains are
people,
messed up like that, we're
yeah,
so, yeah.
yeah. And, I tell people like that are struggling and that are sad or just, if you have a dog and literally just look in your dog's eyes, that is therapy in itself. Looking in your dog's eyes when they look at you with awe. I mean, and that's what a dog does. A dog looks at you in awe, just like a child or a baby looks up at you. When my little pug sits next to me and she flaps her head back and she looks at and rolls her eyes back and she's like, "Oh, you're my mommy." If
Yes.
that's not therapy, nothing is. Nothing. I don't
Yeah.
care if you have to go to the pound and just wiggle the dogs and they look at you with awe. And that's I mean, that's a dopamine hit. It's been proven.
Yes.
Your dopamine rises when you play with your animals.
Yeah, I remember I mean I just dogs are I don't know. They're such a gift and they teach us so much. And I can remember years ago when I was around horses, I read this book on imprinting. And so the dog that we have now, our Sammy girl, got her as a puppy. We always get rescues. She's actually a purebred German Shepherd that we got as a rescue. And she was just 14 weeks old. And I remembered what I'd learned about imprinting. And so I started to hold her face in my hands like this, and I would just stare into her eyes because imprinting talked about that. So she just turned 10, well, she's 10 and a half now. And still to this day, if you just sit there and stare into her eyes, she will not break gaze
Mm-mm.
first. She
Never.
will, as long as I will look at her, she will look at me. And in fact, I mean, her story is, I mean, she's been through chemo and had 2 knee replacements, and shout out to Trupanion Pet Insurance, woot woot. But, she was, when she had her one of her surgeries on her knee for the torn ACL, and they have to do a little knee replacement thing. The doctor who's done both her surgeries came out afterwards, and we brought her into the truck, and he said, he was literally speechless. And he's a vet and he deals with dogs all the time. And he said to me, I have never, ever had a dog look completely inside of me and right through me the way she did. He said, I started to get ready to put her under to do her thing. And he said, and she just stared at me. And she just looked in my eyes, right in my eyes. And he said, he said, it was just the most beautiful and like, I shuddered. He said, I said, I told him the book that I'd read and that I'd done with her. And he said, yeah, it was incredible. Like, she was communicating so much to me. Like, I'm trusting you. I'm doing this
Yep.
thing with you. Right. And yeah, it's if we can learn to figure out how to be like a dog, you know.
The simplicity and the unconditional love they give, and just the simplicity of it. And
Yeah.
the feelings and the empathy and the compassion, like they don't judge. Dogs don't judge you unless you're bad. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yes, and then they
But
correct you and then they stop. It's
mm-hmm,
very rare that a dog will continue once it's corrected. It just So
mm-hmm.
I'm going to tell you, so let me tell you this. I saw a meme about, it was some meme about, I wish everybody greeted me like my dog does. It was some cute little thing. I saw that about, I don't know how many years ago, a few years back anyways, right? And I read that and I thought to myself, I am going to do a science experiment. I am going to, from now on, every time my husband comes home, I'm going to greet him like our dog does. Now, I'm not talking, not
Right, right.
quite to that extent, but I made sure that every time he comes home, excuse me, that I greet him with enthusiasm. Say hi. I'm really glad you're home. How was your day? And eye contact, and really do that. I started doing that, I don't know, 4 or 5, I don't know how many years ago now. And the shift in our relationship, like, we had a good relationship before, but it's like I can't do it another way now.
No, because he felt appreciated and you felt
Yeah.
that. He
Yeah.
felt valued and appreciated and just, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I learned that from my dog. I
mhm.
learned that from from all of the dogs that have blessed us in the 30 plus years we've been together. But I did that one little shift, and it turned a good relationship into a great one.
That's awesome. That
Yeah.
is awesome.
Yeah, so there we go with the dog. So now you're doing all this stuff. You're getting some healing yourself, and you're learning about this, and you've got a dog and a baby, and life is going pretty well. So when did you start to explore that you would find a way that you would be able to share this and evolve that? How did that evolve?
Well, it was actually many years because I just did kind of what life made me do because of financial reasons, unfortunately. So I got
Right.
job after job, but I always had it. Like my dad always said, Tammy, you're such a good writer. You ought to write a book. And I used to always think, I don't want to write a book. It would be about you. Like I can't do that, you know? So, but I always knew I was one of those chronic learners. And I also really didn't like if someone was going to practice hypnotherapy on me, I had to know a little bit about it first. So I would go out and do things. So over the 20, 30 years of going through my journey, I was certified as an NLP practitioner, and I did that. And I got all this stuff, like all these things. Cause I'm like, well, you're not going to EFT tap on me until I know what EFT tapping is about.
Yes.
So I would take a certification and I would make sure I knew how to do it. And then I'm like, okay, let's try it. And so I always knew plus I was that person. I always told everybody I was the best unpaid therapist ever in the world.
Right.
Because everybody came to me, and I always had just a way. And I laugh now because I actually did my last episode with someone who is like a full blown psychic. And she's like, oh yeah, you definitely have an intuitive sense. Like I could walk in a room, and I know a lot of it was because of trauma, but I could literally walk in a room of 140 people and be like, I want to talk to those three
Right.
within like 2 minutes.
Right.
I just
Yes.
had this thing. And, and I remember my very first client, she said to me, Tammy, and I've been going to therapy for 11 years, every Wednesday for 11 years. And in 18 minutes, you told me more about why I am the way I am. I said, because I was you. So I knew at that point, like I have something, I have lived experience, and I have all the psychology degrees and all that junk that goes along with it. Not that that's not a good thing, but you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I had these tools. I remember I was doing EFT tapping with a lady at the airport one time. This is before I had a coaching business. And my friend said to me, what are you doing? And I said, well, she's afraid to fly and I can help her. And I said to the lady, I don't know you. You don't know me. You have 9 minutes of your life to spare. And she said, sure. And she skipped onto that plane. She's like, wow, this is the first time I've flown without a Valium in like 20 years. And my friend said, why don't you take these gifts and do something with them?
Yeah.
Like, just do something with them. So I wasn't sure exactly how that was going to kind of manifest itself, but it's slowly but surely starting to. I know what my mission is. I know what my calling is. I know I'm here to help people and they don't have to be at the darkest of dark. Not, sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's just they're not at the lightest of light.
Right.
You don't have to be in this horrible despair place for there to be hope for it to be better. You might just be completely complacent and in a marriage that just is joyless. And I just truly believe after everything I've done that life is joyful. Life is meant to be joyful. We were born on this planet full of joy and curiosity and fun and happiness. And I knew that there's shortcuts. It shouldn't take you 30 years to get there.
Right. Right.
When I can help you get there in 3 months or a month or sometimes 2 weeks. Sometimes it's just taking, like you said, it's a shift. And everybody comes to that shift at different times in their life. And some people never go to it. So it's my job to get up there on the mountaintop and scream, if you're not an idiot looking like this with this smile, you should be.
Oh, I love
You
that.
know?
Yes. Yes.
So it just kind of took off from there. And then I was at a Bible book thing. And I think I don't know if I told you this. We were doing a listening prayer, and it was about 120 of us in this Bible thing. And it was a book writing conference is what it was. And I had thought about writing a book a long time. And I had just lost a business because of COVID. So this is just like 5 years ago. And we did the pastor went through and he said, okay, everybody just close your eyes. I'm going to put on some nice music and just ask one question. Just ask one question and then just sit and be still. It was the silent prayer or this listening prayer. And when he woke, like when we all came back to, he looked around the room and it was over 100 people in there. And he pointed right at me and he said, I don't know what you're planning. I don't know what's going on in your life, but now is the time. He's telling me now is the time. So that was my, okay. So literally within 3 months, I had written my book, published my book, done it all. Like,
Wow.
so
That's and so your first book was all about adult children of dysfunction and alcoholics and things like that. And
the first
finding a
book
way
was
out.
called the first book was called Surviving Alcoholic Parents, and it was a teen guide for children. Everything that I wish I had known when I was a teenager.
Wow.
Literally
I knew
guide.
of that, but I didn't know the order that you did. I didn't realize that was the first one you wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And then my other one, because I was like, okay, then I'm starting to think. Now I'm like, okay, how can I use this? I know the book is your business card and all that blah, blah, blah to get in and speak. And I understand that, but I was like, how can I reach the masses? I'm like, well, I can reach the teachers who can reach more children than one book at a time. So I wrote one called Helping Students of Alcoholics and Other At-Risk Students. And then at the bottom, the subtitle is An Educator's Guide to Identifying and Empowering Disconnected Youth.
Oh my gosh.
So, so that's my second one. And I was, that intention is to help educators because educators don't know. There's a lot of, and teachers are burned out. So a lot of teachers, when I was a teacher for a little while, I can remember them sitting in the lunchroom and being like, oh, I hate these kids. Like, you hate kids? And they're like, oh, she lays on her desk all day and she doesn't want to learn. I'm like, there's no child in the world that doesn't want to learn. If they're laying on their desk, it's because maybe like when I was a child, it was the only place I could sleep with both my eyes closed.
Yeah.
So I really gave the kids the benefit of the doubt. I didn't teach long because I'm like, okay, that's not the masses. Clearly that's not going to work. So let me find something else. So now I'm just, I don't know. I don't know where it's going to take me. I do work with one-on-one. I do have some courses. I have some, I'm working up actually a bundle of 50 courses because I think that every person I come in contact with has so much wisdom to share. So I want to find a way to share the wisdom. So I'm actually doing a bundle of 50 courses, taking contributors, hundreds of contributors I want to come into this bundle because you might listen to what I'm saying right now. Let's say you and I said the same thing.
Right.
People might not resonate with me. They might resonate with you. So why should my version and my course be the only eyes they put on it? Or sometimes people need to hear something 7 times.
Yes. Yes.
So that's my project for 2025 is my bundle of courses. It's called the Collective Wisdom Healing Series.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think we did touch on that a while back in a conversation we had. Anyways, but that's interesting. That sounds really fascinating. And so can I ask you a little bit about that? Like how will that for the consumer, how's that going to work for them? What will that look like?
So they're going to be launching as I get enough contributors to make it a product worth purchasing. I'm not going to do it with one contributor. I want 5 to 6 modules and lessons and everything. And then I'm going to be marketing. That's my job, is to make sure that the course gets out there. And I'm going to be selling them very inexpensively because I don't think healing should cost you an arm and a leg. Like I think healing should be accessible to the average person. So between $7 and $10, you'll get this module, an online course with maybe 5 to 7 coaches and book lists and suggested reading and resources and guides and whatever people want to put in it for very little. And then hopefully, and obviously I'm still need to make a living, right? It costs $400 to have the platform to do the courses.
Right.
But I don't, it's not like I'm going to be selling these courses for, $300. It's literally going to be max. I mean, if I have 10 things in there, it might be a $15, $20 course. So, and I'm launching them as I get the contributors. So right now I have 4 contributors for the inner child work course. So once I get maybe one more contributor, that one will be ready to launch. And then that'll be my effort. I want something that's going to be a legacy that my children can pass on, that they can keep running and keep helping. And I have goals of, I want to hit millions of people in the long run. So
yes, because that's what it's really about, right? I mean, when we do any of these things, there's the doing it, but it's always about, I'm not doing it just to do it. I can remember one day a person contacted me, sent me a private message through Facebook. She lived in New Zealand. I have no idea. And what was really interesting to me was that she made reference. I do this thing every Monday call on Facebook, a live called Mahalo Monday. I just talk about gratitude and whatever I talk about. And then I have my podcast, which is Find Your Joy. And then I had to think about it. Yes, we're on my podcast right now. Okay. So I got mixed up for a minute. Okay. And we're back. And then I have my book, The Art of Healing Trauma. And then the other books that I've done and stuff like that. Right. So what was interesting was this woman. And when I said to my publisher, when she was like, this is a really good book and things like that. And I said, if I just had one person who didn't know me tell me that it helped them in any way, that would be like a lot for me. That would be like
Mhm.
a lot. And so this woman, and she writes me this beautiful note. And she told me that she had been contemplating taking her own life. Like she just had, and and she said, I'm gonna get your book because I was listening to your Hawaiian podcast. So what's really cute was that she thought my Mahalo Monday was Hawaiian, which mahalo is, thank
Mahalo.
you.
Yep.
I get that, but it isn't anyways, but she had sort of dabbled in all of these different little things, and it led her to that. And that's what it's really about. Like, of course, we'd like to be able to, I'd like to be able to pay bills and things like that. So I'm not going to say that that doesn't matter. And everything we do costs money. Like
Right.
the platforms and writing the books. I'm self-published. I mean, everything costs money. But even more than that, though, to be able to touch someone, like that's because I know what it's like to not have money and to be in pain and
Hmm.
not feel like there's any way out. So
Hmm.
I love the concept of what you're talking about.
Yeah, because I mean, and again, I agree. I'm not downing on any of these coaches that have these big, huge programs and all that other stuff. It's just I paid my price as a child. The rest should be accessible to. I have enough tricks and tools up my sleeve that if nothing else, I can make you feel better. You know what I mean? And so I don't feel like that's why the podcast, like, hopefully I'm reaching thousands of people, hopefully. And I did, that's my thing. And yes, you still have to make a living. And I want something I don't want to have to launch a new course every 3 months. I don't want
Right.
that. That's not my thing either. I want to be able to share what I have in normal conversation like this,
Yeah.
and somebody go, oh wow, that really helped me, or wow, my granddaughter could really use that. My book, Surviving Alcoholic Parents, I would probably say 80% of the people that bought it, that commented and that wrote me letters and stuff, were grandparents who knew that their children had a problem and knew their grandchildren were hurting. It wasn't the parents, because God forbid, I would have never asked my mother for money for a book called Surviving Alcoholic Parents. She would have beat me up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flat out. She would, like, I would have been beat bad. So, but it was the grandparents that said, I brought it to her. She reads it at my house when she comes over after school and things like that. And,
Wow.
or they'll say, like, I really appreciated the part you did about, empathy, because how do how I didn't know how to exactly explain to a 14-year-old that their mother was sick, and that maybe trying to have a little empathy, even though it's hard, will at least ease the tension in the moment and bridge that relationship a little bit. Like, they're just little things. And I got so many, it's those tiny little comments that I'm like, wow, that could, it does change lives. And you are changing lives. I know your podcast is changing lives every day. And
Mm.
not everybody reaches out. People tend to reach out when they have a negative experience. That's the normal human nature, is we
Right.
want to complain about something. But I'm like, take your time and do a positive Google review on the Taco Bell instead of the one where they forgot your taco. You know what I mean? Like, our brains are just defensively wired. We're in this trauma reactive world. So the less people that are in that trauma space, that are just
Mm.
spreading positivity and pushing that positive energy into the world, the better the world will be.
Yes. Oh, that's I love it. I love your message. I love you. I'm so glad we met. I'm just like I am. I always feel like I don't know. I have to go, oh right. Tammy and I didn't like grow up together. Like
Yeah, right.
oh right. This is a new thing. It doesn't feel it
Yeah,
never
our third
feels.
conversation. Yeah, really, literally, our third conversation was when she was in the ICU.
Yeah, I know. It's like I'm like, oh my gosh, but I- you know, I hate that there's such thing as time in the world, but
I
there
know.
is, and we're there. Um, I just want to really encourage people. I'll have all kinds of contact information Tammy in the show notes, and you'll be able to get a hold of her. And I promise you that this is how easy she is to talk to. Like, this is how this is going right here. This is just who Tammy is. This is what she brings to the world, is kindness and empathy and some really skilled suggestions and paths to take and ways to do this. Her books, her courses, all of it. It's I can't recommend enough spending time with her, because I just want to keep saying these words over and over so that we don't have to stop talking. But so Tammy, what have we not covered that you would like to share with the listeners?
Oh, we've covered a lot, but if you've gone through the trauma and you are not at that place of joy, the biggest thing I can say is just know that you are worth it. No matter what you have to do every day, tell yourself, and also get a group of peers that know you're worth it. Because we work from our subconscious mind, which has been unfortunately reprogrammed to believe we're not. But I'm here to tell you, you are 100%. And there are millions of people out there in your world that will agree with you. So get with those people, and every day just do something to make yourself feel good. I mean, you're so worth everything, and every ounce of seconds that you put into yourself, you deserve it. That's really, that's just what I, leave you guys with, because there's no reason to not feel worthy. You were born this beautiful, divine, amazing, joyous creature, and that creature is still there. You're still there. You're the same person you were born.
I love it. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thanks so much. And Tammy, oh my gosh, thank you so much for just coming and spending time with us, sharing some of your love and your wisdom. You are just an absolute love bomb. I'm just really grateful for you. And thanks for coming and hanging out. And to our listeners, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I'll make sure that you know how to get a hold of Tammy and spend some time with her, because I promise you, you're just going to absolutely love it. For now, this is Allie. Please remember to like and subscribe. Take good care. And as always, find your joy. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you found a piece of your joy in this episode, I would love to hear about what came up for you, so that we can continue to grow the impact of this show. Thanks again. See you soon. And remember, find your joy.